Welcome to Excel Magic Trick number 880. Hey, if you want to download this workbook, click on the link below the video. Hey, got a great trick from Hammy72 at YouTube. In Excel Magic Trick 877 and 878, we saw formulas for extracting records. Here's where we want to extract our record. There's our data set with OR and criteria. Now, the cool thing that Hammy suggested is that, and here's our formula right here. We had OR criteria. We needed to check a bunch against some things here, and it was dependent on what we put in this cell, right? So the OR criteria was changing. And what I did was build, here's one OR criteria, an array of trues and falses. And if you use addition, you can add all these, and it will give you a string of zeros and one for the records that match this OR criteria. Now notice we're having to run a bunch of arrays. I think there's 7 of them here, right? And Hammy72 said, no problem. You can use the match function. Now I'm going to delete this here. You can go ahead and download these ones. There's also the single formula from 877 right there. Now we're looking something up, so I'm going to use index. Index is a lookup function. I need to go over to data and get the first column, and then as I copy it this way, the column needs to move. So I'm going to click there, Control Shift down arrow, and then F4 twice to lock the row reference only, comma 2 close parentheses. Now I just did that to get back to the sheet here. Now check this out. We need row numbers, and there's lots of them. Now in the last video I used the aggregate function, which is a 2010 function, which allows us to avoid Control Shift Enter. I will do a more universal formula that works in all versions. We'll use the small, because remember we have lots of row numbers. Now we're ultimately going to need some row numbers here, but we need to use the if function to select just some of them. Now we'll use match instead of all those arrays and adding them. We'll use match. And the match function needs some lookup values and a lookup array. But watch this. The lookup value is going to be, and we're checking sales people. So I'm going to click back on this data sheet. Salespeople, Control Shift down arrow, and F4 to lock it in all directions, comma, and now I'm going to have to click back on this sheet right here, comma, it puts the sheet reference in, but I'll just delete that. And check this out. The lookup array is here. Now what it's doing is we gave it a gigantic column of values to look up right here. And match returns the position. So this lookup array for Julie, this whole match will return all of the from all of this criteria here, all the times it found these. So it's either going to return 1 or 2. Well, the fact that there's a number somewhere in the array can be the trigger to say a true. Now I'm going to comma 0, close parentheses, and just check this out. Right here, F9. What did I click there? Oh, I still have a remnant from when I clicked back on the sheet of the sheet reference. All right, so F9, and there it is. All the NAs means that particular position in the data set over there is not Cindy or Sally, and the 2 and the 1, those are the triggers. So now what do we use? Remember, this is inside of if, so we need a true or false to then get the row number. Is number. So just take a snapshot in your mind of this little formula right here. That's going to allow us to do lots of OR criteria and get some numbers. Now I see I forgot this, so I'm going to hit F4 and F4. All right, if, that's a logical test, comma, the values of true, I'm going to go row and come over here and pick one of them. Control Shift down arrow, F4, close parentheses, minus row. And I'm going to scroll all the way up. And then F4 plus 1. Now let me click back over here on this sheet. So what we have here is this will give us all of the row numbers, right? So there's the value if true. We don't need the value of false, so I just close it off. The small we need to extract. Now the small, this little if right here, if you hit F9, those are all of the row numbers. Here we can see 360, 377, 392. We need to extract the first, second, third, so we simply use our number incrementer rows. I'm in D13, so D $13 colon D13. There is the K, close parentheses. There is the row number, close parentheses. And we are going to need to show a blank when it's an NA. So I'm going to say if error, that's 2007 or later. And then a double quote for value if it's an error. Now, this is not aggregate. We use small directly, so you have to use Control-Shift-Enter. You can see the curly brackets up here. Now I copied this over. And point to fill without formatting, and then drag it down. Great in 2010 here. Notice as I get to the row that had something in it previously, it slowed down. In earlier versions, you drag it down and it go way down. All right, so now if we select Sam, we have extracted all of the records. Now, unfortunately, this data set over here, we can't just use Sam as our criteria or Julie, because there will be some Sams that don't have the right sales reps. So the criteria really is this OR criteria. Now, that was 877. Let's do the 878. Now in 878, we had a slightly different situation. We had OR criteria for salespeople, and we had a second set of OR criteria for product. It's OR and OR. So what did we do? And what did I do in that video? I did the arrays and added them. That's the OR part. And then I did a second. This first series of arrays is from salespeople. The second one is from product. You take those two ORs together and multiply them, and then you get OR and OR. That's pretty long, but no problem. We took Hammy's trick, amended this formula right here. So over here we did small. Here, just like a couple videos ago, I did aggregate, and then 15 tells it to do the small function. You put the row part first, and you divide it by the array of trues and falses. But look at this. It's no more plus, 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 plus times. It's just a single is number match. And we have that column over there. The B column has all the salespeople with the criteria, the lookup array from here, and then times a second is number match. The D column has all the products, and this green range right here has our lookup array. Multiply those together, put the rows for the small part of the aggregate, and copy it down. So Hammy72 at YouTube, totally great trick using the match function to substitute for longer array OR criteria. All right, see you next trick.